This episode of Recording Studio Rockstars is brought to you by Isotope, Native Instruments, SAE Institute, Atom Audio, Spectra 1964, and Picker. In fact, you're hearing my voice right now recorded through a Spectra 1964 STX 100 mic pre and mixed with Isotope, Ozone, and RX on Atom Audio monitors and headphones. Grab my free mixing course at Mixmaster Bundle with the link in the show notes below. And please make sure to visit our fantastic sponsors also in the show notes and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel because it's a great way to help support this show. Now get ready to rock.
I've been trying to find a couple different ways to defocus while I'm mixing, not to just kind of blur the line between I'm sitting here, I'm listening to a great set of speakers and I'm listening for problems.
Yeah.
And just trying to look at the big picture. It's like I always equate it to like one of those magic eye paintings where you're zoomed in real close and it's all just white noise. But if you can just step back, you'll see the sailboat.
Yeah, all of a sudden it pops out in 3D. I've got one of those books down in the studio, actually. Welcome to Recording Studio Rockstars. I'm Lid Shaw, and this is the podcast created to help you become a rock star of the recording studio. Rockstars, are you ready to unlock the full potential of your mixes and masters? Then you need Isotope Ozone 12. This complete tool set gives you 20 pro modules, including the new bass control, unlimiter, and stem EQ, plus the IRC5 maximizer for loud, clean mixes and masters without distortion, including the new mastering assistant that guides, not decides, so you are always in control. Go to isotope.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Howdy, Rockstars. It's your host, Lid Shaw. Welcome back to Recording Studio Rockstars, bringing you into the studio to learn from recording professionals so that you can make your best record ever and be a rock star of the studio yourself. My guest today is Justin Francis, a Grammy Award-winning engineer, mixer, and producer with the talent for channeling deep emotion through sound. Justin brings a creative, artist-first approach to every session, working across many genres from Sheryl Crow and Kacey Musgraves to Tyler Childers, Lake Street Dive, Justin Timberlake, Madison Cunningham, Gary Clark Jr., Sarah Jarosz, and Lauren Daigle, to name just a few. Originally from Western Pennsylvania and now a longtime fixture in the Nashville music scene, Justin has earned a reputation for his innovative techniques and dedication to serving the song. More importantly, I think his music sounds killer. He's been on the show before in episodes RSR531 and 280, and I'm psyched to have him back again today. Please welcome Justin Francis to Recording Studio Rockstars. Justin, my man.
How you doing?
Are you ready to rock?
I'm ready to rock.
It's great to have you here, dude. And thanks for coming back on the show, too. I think the last times we did it, maybe it was remote. And if I recall,
that sounds right.
You're in, what is it?
Ashland City.
Ashland. I was about to say Asheville City. Ashland City.
Yep. That's right.
Which is just outside of Nashville.
Yep.
And you're like a log cabin or something.
Yeah,
like that, right?
kind of a log cabin in the woods scenario. This is about a half hour outside of Nashville, which Nashville traffic now, it takes you about a half hour to get anywhere within a 5 mile radius. So it's great. It's nice to be able to when you go into town, you do what you need to do. After this, I'm going to run all my errands in town, and then I'll be back for the day.
Yeah. And so, just out of curiosity, how did you originally find a spot like that? Was it just, a little bit of luck? Were you searching out I
think we were just looking to get out of town a little bit. My partner's from Western Kentucky, a pretty rural area, and she was just looking to get out of town a little bit. And we spent a lot of time in town, a lot of time in bar scene. So we're just kind of looking to get out of that too a little bit. So yeah, it maybe you could say it found us, but we've been out there for 6 years and love it.
Was it tricky to figure out how to, get your studio organized? And you kind of built yourself a mix room, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's just, it's like the back stall or the back 2 stalls of our garage. We just basically split it off and framed in a room within a room type thing. And, it's maybe 17 by 30 or something. It's not terribly huge, but had a friend do like a labor trade for some music stuff. I love a good trade.
I had a couple of those that were I was very fortunate.
Yeah, 100%. Gotta love it. So no, yeah, for me it wasn't too painless. It was painless. And I don't know, seemed to come together pretty quick.
Yeah, well, that's cool. And then being a little ways outside the city, if you want to do a tracking session, because I know you're doing more producing now, you can just come on into town and go to a studio for that.
Yeah, totally. Right? I'll do like, maybe some pre-pro stuff out at the house or like demo stuff. It's like I can record a drum set or an acoustic guitar or a vocal, kind of one thing at a time and build it up. But anytime we're doing actual production stuff, I try to come into town and find a room that suits the band the best and suits the budget and kind of fits everybody's goals. And super easy to pop in town.
That's cool. That's groovy. Well, tell us a little bit more about the studio. Remind us what when you're working out of your place, what are your tools? What are you surrounded by? What's your
Yeah, I mean, so I'm mostly in the box. I've got a lot of outboard gear that, I've got a hardware 2-bus mix chain that I'll go out through. I've got some analog summing that I'll go out through. And I've got just, a ton of outboard gear that I'll bring to sessions and stuff that sometimes I'll just send a bass out and just commit it and print it back in. So I'm never really having to do too much recall on things. But yeah, it's pretty simple in the box setup. I got some PMCs. I got some Pro-X. I've always got an iPad with audio movers rocking, and I'll send audio movers to there. I'll turn the speakers off, just listen on the iPad while I'm doing emails.
Oh, that's cool. Yes, just the built-in iPad speaker has become an additional reference.
Or to be honest, I spend an embarrassing amount of time on AirPods while mixing.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So how do you do that? What's the kind of setup that we would want to replicate if we want to try that even? And what sort of, is it something where you can make real-time changes right into the AirPods?
Yeah, at the lowest kind of latency setting on audio movers, it's still a little bit behind. So you can do automation, but you got to be on top of it. You got to be a little vanilla with your moves,
right?
You
right.
know.
You don't want to, in other words, you don't want to do a quick move to try and catch a syllable in a word on a vocal ride.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can. I have done that before, and you just have to. I just also have to view it too to make sure I caught it at the right spot.
Right.
But yeah, it's put audio movers as the last thing on your chain, and that will go to the audio movers app on your phone, and then I just Bluetooth straight to my AirPods.
Yeah, totally. And then let's see. So then, do you find? And so you're using a fader pack or something like that to control?
Yeah, I've got I've got the SSL. I forget the model.
The UF8.
UF8, and then I've got the channel strip with
the
bus
UC1?
compressor guy. Yeah,
that's what I got, man. I love those things.
Yeah, they're killer. And
are you rolling with just a single eight faders, or did you get a couple of them?
Yep, just a single bank of 8. Yeah, they were actually gifted to me. I was on the Avid Artist Mix for a long time, and I came into the SSL one, and I kind of fell in love with it. And I love how it'll adapt to any of the SSL plugins too, like the UAD or BX or any of those too. You can still use the channel strip.
So you've used the third-party plugin option on it.
Yes. Yeah.
And you probably had to go in and some of them I think are recognized and pre-formatted so that you can just load them up.
Right.
And then some of them you can go in and make your own and assign things, right?
Have you done some of that? I haven't done that. I haven't gone that deep. I just, whatever's working right now, that's working.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that's good to know. So, I've found that getting the faders and being able to work that way in the studio, despite the fact that the SSL faders are Huey, so that you get very limited, a limited conversation, or it's as if the fader pack in Pro Tools have a very fun, rudimentary language to talk to each other, as opposed to, I have also used it with Logic to do some Logic mixing, and it was like, man, it's like you just touch a fader and then the center section instantly switches to the EQs and compression and stuff, which is really handy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super nice. It's nice, is as much of a like tactile hands-on surface you can have while sitting in your mix room alone. It's just anything to keep it interesting. Anything
do you get into the like deeper levels with the macro buttons you can program on the fader on the UF8, or do you just use the faders?
I pretty much stick to like I stick solos. To mute solos, volume. I use it for automation a lot. I automate effects and stuff on it a lot. Using the faders, and that's mainly all I use it for.
Yeah, and then it even has buttons on it where you can put individual faders in and out of write and read mode and stuff.
Oh yeah,
and 100%. I've used that a little bit, but I tend not, if it takes any thinking, I tend not to use it until I've got it on auto pilot mode for myself. But even just having the faders, the mute, the solo, the pan, like even that feels like an awesome difference.
Yeah, so much faster to just whip up a quick drum balance, or just, just take stock if you got a new mix coming in, and just take stock of what's there.
Yeah,
pull
indeed.
A fader up, pull it down, next, bank over to the next.
And the phase button on the UC1, I find that the polarity switch being really, really handy.
Yeah, totally. 100%. Sometimes I'll throw everything into, do a pass once you get kind of a rough balance going. You're a little bit deeper into your mix. Just throw everything into automation mode and just take a pass and try to catch everything as much as you can at once, instrumentally, catch the guitar fills in the second verse, catch the piano solo, catch the backgrounds in the outro,
As if you were doing a live mix, just to see if that gets you a little closer.
Yeah, or just try to see, just try to keep engaged the whole time, and keep the listener's focus where it needs to be.
Yeah, yeah. And now in your playlist, so Rockstars, we have Justin's playlist in the show notes, so you can scroll down and listen, and it's really good sounding. I was saying that before he got here. One of the things I like about having Justin on the podcast is your music sounds like really freaking good, man. So that's always a lot of fun. But you have this great mix also of things that are live bands and that kind of stuff, things that are country, but things that are programmed music too. And, the programmed stuff, I'd be curious about your opinions on that too, because a lot of times the programmed stuff just leaps out of the speakers. There's something about the controlled form of music that just makes it, can make your stereo sound really good,
Sure.
Do you have thoughts about that? And then also to your point about doing this, passive mixing, is that more of an approach to a band recording, like a bunch of live musicians approach to getting the mix dialed in, or does that even work for some of the pop stuff with programmed drums and vocals and other stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it could work for anything, but more so in a live band scenario. It's like, just see like, what was the guitar player doing here? Kind of under volume a little bit in the second verse, but hey, that's cool. Let's bring that out a little bit more. You tend to kind of find some more surprises that way. In like more of a traditional live band session, as opposed to more of the pop or program type stuff. It's all pretty much exactly as intended, and even volumes and stuff are pretty much as is.
It's a little more like finding the balance in those, like where should it, how loud should it be, and then you don't have to adjust it in between so much.
And I mean, it's exactly what it is. It's programmed to sound good already.
Yeah.
So that stuff is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to mess with and mix. But I do love live band tracking.
Yeah, me too, man. And I know we're going to talk about that, so I'm excited for it. Now, how long have you been doing this?
Oh, I mean, man, I started playing music when I was, 12 or 13 years old. Started playing in bands, and we went in to record with somebody that was a couple years older than we were, and I just kind of never left that side of it.
Yeah, and I know we probably covered all the in depth the first time you were on the show,
Sure.
but like, it's been it's been a couple of decades for you, or like, what's the?
Yeah, I mean, I'm 36 now, so
Okay, dig it.
however long that is. I've fortunate enough to I feel like I've never had another job or another choice of what. There was never a question of what I was doing. It's just because I'd been in the studio for as long as I can remember, even, know, it's,
and you feel like the band thing gave you an advantage of having a musician's perspective or the band perspective on
I think
creating the music.
Sure. I think it's always beneficial to have an engineer, producer that can understand where you're coming from, as a player, as proficient or not proficient as they are. It doesn't really matter, just as long as you can kind of speak the same language. I think that's hugely beneficial in being able to tell whether something's grooving or not, on a musical level.
Yeah.
I think it's very helpful.
Yeah, I do agree that like having a sense of things like pocket and, the arrangement performing well together as an appreciation of the music as a creator,
Mm-hmm.
has really informed my ability to do things that I take for granted, just like editing.
Yeah.
Making sure things feel right and they're tight. And then, and there are times where I'll listen to other stuff where I think, whether the people who created it were proud of it or not, I might hear something and I just think like, boy, they really missed, there's something really missing in that to me.
Or that's too tight,
or like too tight.
You go past the point of, okay, this lost its swagger, this lost what made it cool and slinky. There's
cool and
that.
slinky.
Yeah.
You were talking about the AirPods, AirPod Pros.
Mm-hmm.
And so what would be your method for setting that up so that you can listen to them? Is it like audio movers stream it over to the iPad and then the AirPod Pros are connected to the iPad?
Bluetooth straight to the iPad. Yeah. And, for obvious reasons that's what a lot of people are listening in. I've been trying to find a couple different ways to defocus while I'm mixing, not to just kind of blur the line between I'm sitting here, I'm listening to a great set of speakers and I'm listening for problems.
Yeah.
And just trying to look at the big picture. It's like I always equate it to like one of those magic eye paintings where you're zoomed in real close and it's all just white noise. But if you can just step back, you'll see the sailboat.
Yeah, all of a sudden it pops out in 3D. I've got one of those books down in the studio, actually, come to think of it. I'm pretty sure it's in the reading room. And you know where that is in a studio, right?
Oh, yeah. Classic. Under all your tape ops.
That's where, next to the tape ops. And that's where I used to, that's of course where I used to actually get a chance to read the Pro Tools manual back in the day.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, but the AirPods are great for that. They kind of just take you a little bit out of the mixer's chair and into a more casual listening environment, and maybe you can tell if something's happening or not a little bit easier. It becomes a little bit more apparent to me on AirPods. I also keep a drum set in my mix room too. And sometimes if I'm working for a little while and I need to get out of that headspace, I'll turn around, I'll throw headphones on, and I'll literally try to play along with whatever it is that I'm working on. And me not being a proficient drummer at all, I find that all my energy is focused on just trying to keep up and keep time. And so the technical minutia goes past me, and now I'm just listening to music, and I'm listening to whether it's grooving, and I'm listening to
part of just the the production listening is like playing along with the music.
Yeah, you kind of trick your brain into not listening as hard, while still paying attention. But you're just paying attention in another way. You're paying attention in a way that maybe a music listener or fan would listen, as opposed to the person whose job it is to try to fix problems and make
totally.
Make
and the drive while driving, that's always a great example for me. The challenge with while driving is it's very hard to take a note to yourself once you think of something or notice something.
Totally.
That's always been a challenge. And then like the easy solution would probably be like, I wish somebody would make an app for that, but nobody will ever be able to make an app for that. Although we're heading into that world where that might be possible with like the self-driving cars and stuff. But then all of a sudden you might be listening to the mix again because you're no longer driving. It's a conundrum. What are you going to do?
Yeah, you're too focused on
it. But like
now.
nobody can ever make an app for that because like the liability on that would just, nobody could ever say like, now you can take notes while you're driving.
Sure. Yeah.
Unless it was some sort of verbal only recording. I've even thought about having, I have done it. I put 2 iPhones in the car. An old one.
You got a voice memo going on
this
one?
And the other one's like, if I can just figure out how to keep this thing charged and then use the voice memo and then have it sync so that I can hear it later. And that didn't really work, but it was a good try.
That's awesome.
And I've looked into just things like, can you get a dictation recorder, like little, like a doctor thing, and just take notes yourself. So it's fun to explore those ideas.
Yeah, 100%.
Dreaming of a career in audio or the entertainment business? SAE Institute Nashville, in the heart of Music Row, offers hands-on programs where you'll learn on professional-grade gear with industry pros, learning through real projects, not just lectures. Explore studio production, live sound, audio for film, and a whole lot more. Or take the entertainment business program to learn about contracts, promotion, and more. With diploma, associate, and bachelor's programs, there's a path for you. Book a tour today at nashville.sae.edu or call 615-244-5848. And then when you're listening in the AirPods, what are things, is it mostly just hearing, the music, or are you noticing mixed decisions about choices about panning or low end and bass response?
Sure. Yeah. A little bit of both, I mean, you're obviously, still making mixed decisions. How's the low end feel? Where's the vocal sitting? Is this too wide? Is this not wide enough? And
you must listen to a bunch of.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Hey, look at that. We got a new guest on the podcast. That was kind of exciting. I don't know if that's happened before where like Siri or, AI jumps in to listen to us.
Love it. Where were we? We were talking.
So the low end thing. So what I was about to ask is because you were talking about hearing panning and it just reminded me like this goes, back to Dave Pensato. I remember him mentioning doing mixes in AirPods because, or headphones, because that's how people listen to music, and noticing wide panning being too wide or whatever. But the part of my question is like, of course, you probably need to listen to a bunch of commercial music you have to have a reference, right? Also.
Sure. Yeah.
AirPods.
Sometimes I'll bounce around, and luckily you've got it right there. You've got it right there on your phone, Spotify or Tidal or, whatever. And you can
unlock your iPhone first.
Sorry. I noticed it was listening again.
This is great, rock stars. Live. Everybody will appreciate this. I mean, like back in the day, remember we used to do sessions, and if somebody just had their phone on and they had the wrong phone service, it would go like, it would like freak out all the mics in the session and end up on the recording.
But no, the AirPods do, they'll help me, quickly compare to something that's, released, mastered already, that's on DSPs, and you can quickly A/B them back and forth. You can, you can listen to what other people are listening to on. And like I said, the big thing for me is it kind of just helps me take a step back from the super critical listening perspective.
Totally. DSPs meaning digital service providers or streaming providers.
That's
or
right.
something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that actually goes way back to, I'm blanking on the name of the producer. Somebody, Rockstars, drop a comment in if you know who this was, but is a famous jazz producer who had a studio in his house, and he'd do a lot of famous jazz albums there. And he was known for, while producing and recording an album, he was sitting there reading the paper the whole time they were performing. And the point was, if something caught his attention and knocked him out of that experience you were talking about, then it was something to notice, it like sort of would throw him off.
Yeah, maybe it is something that's that's wrong, that maybe on a grand set of beautiful speakers that would have went past you, because it's like, it sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So anything else about the studio that you're excited about? So you were talking about using, and I know you had mentioned like SoundFlow, as well as audio movers.
Sure, yeah. I've been loving, SoundFlow, especially the Andrew Shep's Bounce Factory has been a lifesaver.
Yeah, because you're doing that kind of work for clients where you have to like stem it all out.
100%.
Deliver it
Stuff's going
to labels.
Sure. And stuff's going to Atmos, and, they sometimes will require more specific stems than you would even deliver to a label. So just having the flexibility to be able to have a song, program it for 10 minutes, take 10 minutes to program it, to run the stems, and you're running 30 stems, and I can go take a bike ride while it's doing that. Or I can go to sleep, and you can even, you can program 10 songs in a row, and it will do song 1, it will close the session, open up song 2, and bounce that again.
Right. So for those who are not familiar with what SoundFlow is, it's like a macro programming tool that instead of you having to go in and manually open up each session, solo certain things, bounce them out individually, and keep it all organized, you can program it so that it'll take care of all that stuff for you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Does it handle things like naming files properly, or do you sort of have to preemptively name things, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a, it's kind of generic, band name, song name, underscore, and then you would kind of just name each pass that you were doing, manually. And that's what you do in the 10 minutes where you program it. You select drums, percussion, bass, acoustic 1, acoustic 2, yada, yada. And you would just name these things real quick. And now it's got its file naming structure,
right.
All set up and ready to roll.
Yeah. And there's another tool that's available called Bounce Butler. That is less, I don't know that it does the same deep level of like customization, but it does a lot of great things. So I would use it for the podcast because each episode of exporting audio from Pro Tools would take an hour plus, in faster than real time. And so it would allow me to do a similar thing where it's like, load in all the episodes 13 at once, and then just leave the studio and it'll bounce them all out.
Yeah. Amazing.
Make sure you get the mix right, because you're still going to come back. You're just going to come back a day later and go like, oh shit, this mix sucked.
Yeah.
I need to redo it all over again.
Yep. I mean, so unfortunately, depending how you look at it, I still have to do it all in real time because I've got a hardware outboard chain. But
at least you might hear something and catch it if you're in the ear shot of the mix.
Totally. And you can even turn on your audio movers thing again, and you can leave the room, and you can go for a bike ride, and you can literally be listening to whatever's
checking whenever you want to, or listen the whole time. Boy, that would be fun, listening to that song and every stem. And
every stem, just making sure each one's
I guess that's what we love to do. You ever think that we're a little bit crazy for wanting the mindset for mixing, where it's like you listen to the same song over and over and over and over again for days?
Yeah,
potentially.
But again, it's like the magic eye painting. A lot of the time, you're like this. You're zoned in. You're keyed into different elements. You're keyed into the bass guitar sound. You're keyed into the vocal effect or whatever. And you're so deep in it. And every now and then, you get to see the sailboat.
I think you might have won something this year.
Is that a little gold statue?
Yeah, did you get yourself a little gold
this year
statue?
I think it was last year.
A Grammy?
Uh-huh.
Right
That's
on,
right.
man. Congrats on that.
Thanks so much.
Tell us about that. What was that all about? And
the album was Madison Cunningham's Revealer. Amazing artist. Mike Elizondo was a producer on it. Tyler Chester was also a producer on it. It was great. It was a wonderful experience, tracking the lion's share of the record, mixing the lion's share of the record. Tracked it up in Gallatin at Mike's studio, and I mixed it at my studio in Ashland City. And
awesome.
It was just a joy to be around.
What's the genre?
It's like indie pop. The Grammy was for best folk album.
Right on.
It kind of falls to me a little bit more in the indie pop, dare I say, Americana.
Yeah. Well, folk is an option in the mastering assistant in Ozone too. So,
is that right?
There you
go. Master this to be folk.
Yeah. It's funny. Yeah. I mean, Bob Dylan, he brought a rock band to the folk festival.
Sure. 100%. 100%.
It happens.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, man. Congrats. And then was there anything sort of fun or any fun stories from that experience? Was there a moment of surprise when you found out?
I mean, it was all so fun. Such a blur going by. I think kind of the cool thing that I took away from that was the idea that Maddie had, that her mindset was kind of like you would make a record in the 70s. You would track it all day, maybe have a dinner break and come back and you'd mix it that night and you're done.
Yeah.
Next song.
And were you guys tracking analog tape and stuff too? Or
Nope.
But was that part of a sound to go for later in the mix stage or anything like that?
I'm not necessarily. I mean, I think maybe naturally that kind of fell into the aesthetic a little bit, but no conversation about it being intentional or anything. But just the idea that we're working on this and to not over focus on technical minutia again.
Right.
Is
what was the band arrangement in the session?
A lot of times it was Maddie, and she's got a really interesting setup with her rubber bridge guitar.
Sweet.
Rubber bridge would go out to maybe a DI and an amp, and then I think a lot of times we would.
Do you want to explain what a rubber bridge guitar is?
Sure. Yeah. So it's a normal 6-string acoustic, maybe parlor-sized guitar, and the bridge on it has a rubber, whatever. The bridge is made of rubber where the strings are sitting on.
Normally it would be like a piece of plastic or hard plastic or bone or something.
Mm-hmm. So the rubber basically kills all the sustain in the guitar. And then she'll use like flat wound strings, I think are common, which have even less sustain. And then, so it kind of just sounds like a toy when you strum it out. Ding, 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 ding. She'll use it in a super low tuning. So now it just sounds like a very mean or aggressive toy. And then you add some distortion or saturation to it. It's a very interesting sound. Normally they have a couple different outputs on them too, a couple different pickups. So you can spread those in the stereo field too.
That's cool. Like a couple of different amps or something.
Mm-hmm. Or, maybe the amp on this side and the DI on this side with a little slap on it or, something like that. But so it'd be Maddie playing and singing. Mike Elizondo was playing bass, upright or electric. And Aaron Sterling, I think, was playing drums on all the stuff that we did in Nashville. So yeah, a lot of times
so trio track.
The three of them.
Yeah, and then what about setup? Would that involve, like big isolation effort, or more like people can be in the same space together, or gobos kind of do the trick?
Yeah, not too precious about isolation. As long as spill is good spill, I'm totally fine with it. And that was the attitude of the session too. Is it was kind of all for one and one for all. You know, if we're
The
going
spill
to
would
do
basically be drums into the acoustic, essentially.
sure,
right?
or into the upright or whatever. But
Oh, it was an upright bass.
Sometimes upright, sometimes electric.
Let's talk about that. What were the ways that you found to get a great sound? You know, I mean, I can say this. How'd you get a Grammy-winning sound on recording an upright bass?
Oh man, well, you get a Grammy-worthy bass player.
Come on, I know there's more to it than that. I could put the greatest bass player in the world, and if I did the wrong thing, it might not sound so great.
Well, I will say,
and I say that because of drums being in the same space and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. I will say I have been a fan of the Bruce Swedian method of wrapping a mic up in bubble wrap, or I'll use like Pelican case foam and putting it up into the bridge of an upright bass.
So the bridge is it's very different from the rubber bridge on the guitar. So the bridge on an upright bass is like a violin bridge or a cello bridge. It's a tall wooden thing that has, the strings are at the top coming over the curve, and then it has these two legs that really stand it up off the soundboard of the instrument. Yep. But then often there's a hole, like there's like an arch.
Yep.
Between the legs,
about
right?
the size of a beer can, a soda can.
Right. So it's pretty big.
Yeah, that you can fit something up into.
So that means the mic with the foam. Well, the mic is coming from underneath the bass up through the bridge. Mm-hmm. I guess it has to kind of get between the strings because the strings go over the bridge and that area too. But then it's pointing up toward where it's like pointing up towards the underside the nose of the bass player and where the fretboard is for the fingers.
Right. So what I like to do is use an Omni
fretboard, the fingerboard.
Yeah, I'll use an Omni mic. So direction is a little bit less important there. One of my favorites is the Altec M11, the Coke bottle mic. If you've ever seen that old tube mic, and it's about a foot long, which is great for this application. It's super skinny. So you wrap it in foam, you put it up underneath that bridge, and when you're using a microphone and you open up its pattern to be omnidirectional, a lot of times this gets rid of the proximity effect. So you can jam.
You can get as close as you want.
Yeah, you can jam it up on an acoustic guitar and you won't get the big bloom. You can jam it up underneath the bridge on an upright bass and you won't get this whole big low end blowout. You just get kind of all tone, and you can arrange it in a way where the further you go up, eventually the fingerboard would cover it, so you have a little bit of isolation. That's almost like it's a baffle
under the fingerboard. So it's almost like hearing the instrument and it's hearing the underside of the fingerboard.
Right. And, maybe the fingerboard would block out a little bit of drum set or a little bit of spill that's going on out there. And
the foam that's wrapping this mic is essentially there to keep the mic in place, wedged underneath the bridge.
That's right.
And does the foam actually kind of wedge under the fingerboard a little bit too? Is it that much on there?
Normally the way it works is, the foam is basically just filling up underneath the bridge. There's the little arch and then the body of the instrument, and the foam just would make it snug up against there, so the mic isn't jostling around, or you can kind of position it.
Yeah, is it tricky, like to where the diaphragm of the mic could be like, if it wiggles a little bit, it's going to bump into the soundboard or bump into.
No, normally there's if you wrap the foam around it in a particular way, you can normally get about 1.5 inches off the body of the instrument.
It's pretty rigid
and if you have pretty rigid foam too, like it's not going anywhere.
And then the foam also acts as a shock absorber, like a mic.
Yeah, sure.
Mic shock mount.
Yep.
Does it isolates the vibrations from the mic, hopefully a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. It's a little bit nerve-wracking getting in there, especially if you've got like.
Right, when they bring in their 1700 bass.
beautiful antique instruments that are worth what houses are worth. You're trying to jam this thing up into the bridge while they're holding it, looking at you doing it.
Right, you're
Always
like,
hey,
I'm trying to be careful here. This is an expensive mic. This is worth at least $1,000.
Yeah,
and he's like, oh, really? The one that you're sticking in my $50,000 bass?
And this Pelican foam, that's not cheap either.
Rockstars, if you want the ultimate toolkit for your music, check out Complete 15 from Native Instruments. With 165 instruments and over 150,000 sounds to choose from, it is the most powerful creative tool in your studio. From Contact 8 to Massive X, Battery, and Guitar Rig 7 Pro, you've got everything you need to create in any genre. Pair that with Native Instruments control keyboards and machine hardware, and you get next-level integration that makes music creation fun, fast, and seamless. Head on over to nativeinstruments.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Okay, cool. So then any other stuff that would accompany that bass setup that helps you get a great sound on it?
So, an upright bass, normally I would do that. I would take a DI.
And the DI is often a piezo element that's picking up the actual contact vibrations inside the bridge also, probably,
Right. Normally, like a bass player would have a pickup, kind of on their bass already. So I'll take that. Maybe we don't use it. A lot of times we'll do like a subharmonic type thing, and we'll put that on the DI part of the chain or element of the bass, and that's really cool to blend in sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I've got this DBX 120XDS subharmonic synthesizer outboard piece that I really love.
Oh, that's cool.
That I'll bring to sessions sometimes and either hook it up to a bus or an effects send on the console and send a little bit of kick drum through it, or in this case, send a little bit of the bass DI to it, and just takes whatever's coming in and generates an octave down below.
Yeah, that's cool. Add some weight to the whole mix.
Mm-hmm. That's super fun. And
do you find that can be tricky? Like you pretty much need to really hear the low end really accurately in the space, or do you hear it sitting close to correct, even if you're just hearing like how it affects the smaller speaker cones?
Yeah, I mean, range? I think you can, in order to really pick up what's going on, you got to have some speakers that'll be able to throw that, right. But it's generally pretty easy to see what's going on, because you can hear the harmonics above it too, and you can kind of gauge, even if you're listening on, a Proax or a smaller set of speakers, you can tell by where 60 or 120 hertz is sitting, you can tell how much 30 is in there, too, just by how much of the second order harmonics are going.
I mean, what was the console in that studio you were at?
SSL 4000 E-Series, cool. I think.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, man.
Those are fun, man. Those are fun. And I think one of the things you mentioned is you're starting to produce more bands now too, right? So when you set up your studio, did you find yourself primarily mixing? Did you intend to primarily mix?
Yeah, I mean, it's the space is only adequate basically for mixing. Small overdubs I can do, but can't really do any full band tracking in my space. So it was always kind of a mix only spot.
Yeah. But now you're doing more production by going to other studios and working with bands there, like.
Sure. Yeah, totally.
Same studio you won the Grammy from?
Sometimes, it's fortunate, like Nashville's got a lot of options, a lot of places to work, and budget depending, and kind of vibe depending, and whether the band is going to be in need of some certain instruments, grand pianos, upright pianos, organs, some stuff that doesn't travel particularly well. It's like, okay, let's go to this spot. They've got a great keyboard selection, or they've got a great guitar amp selection, or whatever, great drum set selection, and everything is kind of plug and play already, and you just bring the band in, and then you put guitars and basses and stuff in their hands, and you work like that. Or you can pick a studio that's a little bit more of a blank slate. All they have is the recording gear in a great sounding room, and the band will supply everything else. So it just depends what the band needs, depends budget, vibe.
Yeah. Have you found any particular studio rooms where like it's more of a blank slate and you go set up the drums in there and you're like, wow, that sounds great. I mean, you hear stories about Ocean Way, I think Studio A out in LA, like so many rock had the sound that really worked for a lot of rock bands,
Sure.
etc.
Yeah, totally. I mean, again, it's dependent on the project. There are rooms in town where you want I want everybody to be in this same room looking at each other.
Right. So you need space.
Yeah, and maybe you don't want a room that's super, super lively where sound carries that much.
Right.
There are a couple rooms in town where you could be playing a drum set, and 5 feet later you could have an acoustic guitar.
Where's that? What comes to mind?
Sound Emporium A comes to mind.
Okay,
there,
cool.
I
haven't worked over there yet. I've been there and seen the space, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love those older studios in Nashville where you walk in and there's just this whole era of doing this thing where like you got the big space, but then the ISO booth looks like a little tiki hut roof coming out, covering something
totally.
Into the space.
Yep.
Like you're in an indoor-outdoor restaurant space.
Yeah, you're transported somewhere else.
Yeah.
When you go in there and
places that'll have little elevated stages, to put the singers or stuff like that.
Yep. So Sound Emporium's really great because it's got the flexibility of it's got a rather large booth that you could put a drum set in if you wanted a bigger, more reflective, compressed, more modern drum sound. It's got a big wooden booth that you can do, and then you could have the pickers out on the floor, or you could have the drums out on the floor, the big main floor, and you could isolate the acoustic guitar in that room or whatever. I like rooms that are kind of flexible like that, where you can, it doesn't rule out a big heavy rock band versus an acoustic duo, or you can kind of tailor it to the project too.
And when you go do a session like that, do you engineer? Do you like to engineer while you're producing? Do you
Typically.
find that it helps? And if that's the case, then do you like studios where you already know the studio and you already know the sounds a bit in these different spaces?
Yeah, I mean it's always helpful and a little less nerve-wracking because it's a lot of jobs to
it's a lot of work. It's a ton of work.
So
I mean, just setting up for a session is a lot of work.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, it's helpful to be in a space that you're comfortable with, and even if you know how it translates. You've done stuff there before. You know that what you're hearing is accurate, or at least as accurate as you hope that it can be, and you're confident that what you get back is going to be.
Well, and also to the point of knowing how to do things that are beyond accurate, like creative, bold moves.
Sure.
You're doing every sessions that go from maybe traditional micings to also program things where there's kind of extreme approaches to sounds. And, it's fun to discover those things, but, I know it can be challenging sometimes in a big studio that's not my own. To know what weird place to stick a mic and which crazy compressor to run it through to get that sound. That'd be like, how'd you get that sound? What are some thoughts about that? Like, what are ways to allow yourself to have that kind of playfulness in the studio?
Yeah, I think just preparedness will go a long way in when you're setting up the session. It's just kind of always having, I'm a fan of committing, and I'm a fan of engineering for the part, as opposed to the instrument,
Right.
So if the part in the production needs no low end, I'm not afraid to lop it all off to tape, whatever,
What would you reach for to do that on a session like that?
Oh, just anything, any EQ that's around, the console EQ or whatever path it's going through.
What's the console over at Studio A at
Sound Emporium? They've got an API.
Okay, right.
Yeah, big old API in there. So you could use an API. You could use, they've got a bunch of great outboard gear, or even plugins while you're going down too, if you don't want to commit. But I'm a fan of committing and trying to get the artist and producer, if there is one, as close to their vision of what it is on the way down as possible. And that's whatever gets people the most excited. That's what I want to do, you know.
Yeah.
And along the way, you know, you're kind of checking in with everybody, like, you're cool with this, right? Because we've got 3 mics on this drum set, and 2 of them are blown out of the water. You know, you're cool with this, right? You're cool with this. But I always also try to have something in your back pocket, you know, safety wise, of like, okay, if we really decide to pivot, we can.
Right. So those are those
this
situations where maybe you've got your traditional multi-mic going on, but you've also got your cool sound.
Sure.
And it can be smart to track everything, but mute things. And yet at the same time, I'm sure you've experienced this. We also have to be careful that we don't overwhelm ourselves with too many, you know, option paralysis later, or like make things overly complex.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know, I've done stuff where it's way too complex. You know, we've got 28 mics on this drum set.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Right.
You know,
right, exactly.
But you know, it's like maybe 20 of them are muted. 20 of them are faders down, you know, and never to be seen again after those decisions have been made. But having the ability to say like, okay, now in 30 seconds, I can whip up a super clean traditional drum set sound, or in that same 30 seconds, we can turn this into something that's completely different.
Right. And you might shift from song to song that way too, if you're doing an album project.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Okay, cool. So then let me jump to some of the records that are in your playlist. So this one comes to mind when I think about a band situation too. White Noise, White Lines, Kelsey Walden, and Lay Your Head Down, Carolina Story. That kind of heavy, thick drum sound, you know, on a Americana leaning production.
Totally.
Talk a little bit about that. Like what comes to mind for you for that? And does that feel like a description that makes sense to you?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you know, who doesn't love a big old heavy?
Is it a little bit of that DBX sub thing happening?
In those, I think those were done maybe before that unit came into my life.
Yeah.
But the same mentality. I love heavy drums. You know, heavy sounds. I love low end, and I love when things have, you know, that type of chest hitting impact.
Yeah.
So the Carolina Story stuff, I recorded and mixed, I believe. It was a while back. And the Kelsey Walden record, I believe Dan Knobler recorded that album, and I just mixed it. But you know, it was recorded beautifully, and yeah, you know, so much of it is in the players. You know, both those drummers in both those projects were amazing, and they laid out great sounds. And you know, it's all you can do to just faders up and, you know, get a good balance, and it normally works out pretty good. Right on.
All right, here's a trick question that I just thought of. As I think of questions I want to ask you, what comes to mind for you if you're like where you're at right now with production, and if there must be stuff that you're in pursuit of, you know, creatively. What comes to mind for you for something you'd like to ask, you know, a favorite producer, a particular sound, any kind of record, you know, just current stuff? Like, what have you been working towards where you're like, man, that sound is just awesome?
Yeah, I mean, sound wise, you know, I've got, you know, a myriad of influences of people that I look up to for you know how their records sound and stuff. But I always like to pick people's brains about. I'm always curious about whether they're a melody versus lyric person,
right?
Just in song selection, you know, it's like what grabs you first. You know, myself, I've always been more of a melody type person,
Me too, I think.
If the melody checks out and keeps me engaged, then I will pay attention to the lyric.
Yeah,
you know,
discover the lyric.
Discover the lyric, exactly. On a second listen or 10th listen or whatever. You know, there are songs that I've heard 100 times, and you know, it's like I have no idea what this song's about. I love the melody. I love this. I've never checked in.
Yeah, like how well do you know what the message is in a Radiohead song? You know,
right? yeah. But
I remember hearing what the lyric translation on once, and it was about like aliens from outer space or something like that on one of them. And you're just like, well, I would not lot of
great melodies.
Or like Nirvana,
Yeah.
when Smells Like Teen Spirit came out, I remember on MTV, they were like sharing the lyrics with everybody because nobody really knew what they were.
Right. Yeah. No, 100%. That's always a question I like to ask folks is what side of they're on. And it's oftentimes their background. If their background is a songwriting background, a lot of times they're more lyric driven. If they come from more production engineering background, a lot of times it's melody.
I wonder if there's also a correlation to rock music versus, I don't know, Americana.
Sure, country.
Folk. I feel like folk is pretty lyric focused.
Sure, yeah. I mean, country music, stories.
Although, what is Nick Drake singing about? I don't know really know what he's singing about,
100%.
Pink Moon, I guess it's like, poetic and imagery.
Yeah. 100%.
And I do love that kind of stuff. But I'm with you on that. I mean, I'm in the new phase of discovering lyrics. I'm trying to learn how to discover lyrics first, and that's where I'm taking myself these days. And it's probably true for any of us. It's like, you've got a thing that you learn how to do more easily and naturally. The appreciation of melody, the appreciation of sound probably drew me into the engineering and the production side of things. Although I also think that decades of doing it drew me in deeper,
Sure.
appreciations of things. And so then like at some point you probably learn like, well, other people seem to go to the lyric first. So I want to learn how to do that. I mean, for me, like I get to the end of a record, I'd be in the mastering stage almost. And I'm like, oh shit, that's what that song was about.
Yeah.
It's really funny. So you're lucky if you get there and you're like, wow, those are great lyrics, as opposed to like, oh boy, it's not what I
Don't you love it when the lyric and the music kind of coincide and they can come together, stop in the name of love. The band stops, you know.
What's that called? There's a name for that. Is that
prosody?
Yeah. Where the words, comes across as what it means to.
Yeah. Or opposite, Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire, when went down, down, down.
Right.
He's singing the words down, 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 but the melody's going up, up, up.
Yeah. Yeah, I try to remember to do those opposites or the same thing or whatever. Yeah, and those are fascinating. And that gets into songwriting, of course, but it also crosses over into production, don't you think? Like as a producer,
sure,
you want to make sure that the song is as good as it can be before you hit the studio because, you can be hands off about it in terms of like, well, it's not my territory on one hand, but on the other hand, if this song doesn't have everything it could, then the whole production and the artist might suffer a little from it.
Yeah, 100%. And everybody's got a different process. Some people would like to get really, really hands on, and like we're gonna try to cut all the fat from this song. If you don't need it, if it's not super important to the song, let's lose it, and really try to condense it down. And some people are a little bit more hands off and seeing the forest, instead of the trees type, and
totally.
they're just taking it all in and more of a
the vibe producer concept.
Yeah, I guess so.
Look, when it comes to finishing your music, nothing compares to iZotope Ozone 12. This is a complete mixing and mastering suite of tools with 20 pro modules to shape your sound. You'll find the new bass control for a tight, powerful low end, new unlimiter to restore life to overcompressed tracks, and new stem EQ so you can rebalance vocals and drums and bass without even opening the mix session. And when it's time to make your music loud, the IRC5 Maximizer gives you loud, clean mixes and masters that still sound open and clear. Save time with AI-powered workflows that keep you in the driver's seat. Ozone 12 takes the guesswork out, but you stay in control so your music translates everywhere, from streaming to stage. Go to iZotope.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Howdy, rock stars. We're back now for the jam session. My guest today is Justin Francis, joining us here at Ready to Rock Studios. Justin, are you ready to jam, dude?
Yeah, man. Always.
It's weird for me to say Ready to Rock Studios and then say, are you ready to jam? Maybe I have to say Ready to Jam Studios. I don't know. I'll figure it out. The duets with Willie Nelson and Ronnie Millsap. Tell us about that warm sounding track in your discography. Remember?
Yeah, so that was cut. That stuff was cut at Ronnie Millsap's old studio. Now, still affectionately known as Ronnie's place, but Black River Entertainment's studio. Beautiful SSL 9000. Ronnie's original Yamaha piano and Rhodes are still in that building. Beautiful EMT reverbs. It's just a great sounding wood room, and put all those guests in there with Ronnie Millsap, and easy squeezy.
That's cool. And so it was like people in a kind of a bit of a circle or something like that.
Yeah, to my knowledge, that was a little while ago. My recollection
was that one that you tracked?
Yes, that would have been full live band, and then maybe there would have been a separate instance where there was a vocal session where the guests, would have...
Where Willie Nelson would have come in on the vocals.
100%.
Did he come in? Did you get to record him directly?
That one I did not record Willie. No, I've never...
Was that one where it went to him? It's probably Steve Shady or somebody like that.
Perhaps, yeah. I think he does a lot of stuff, near his residence.
Looks like Daisy, the studio dog, found her way into this session, into the podcast. So, hi, Daisy. You got to be quiet while we're recording. One of the things I noticed in your discography is Lola Kirk, Hungover Thinking. And Lola's great. I got to know her just last year. We did an audiobook for her
amazing.
Book, Wild West Village.
Yeah.
Wild West Village is her audiobook. It's this great...
That's right.
Great book that's about her life growing up and everything like that.
Yeah, Lola's
finding
great.
music, songs, and love in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually going to see her show tonight, actually, in the neighborhood.
Me too.
Place. Are you? I'll see you there later.
Nice.
Well, cool. So tell us about that session a little bit.
So that was put together by our buddy Daniel Tashin, was producing, and we recorded it over at another buddy, Todd Lombardo's studio.
Oh,
and
Todd's great.
I think maybe that was the first session definitely the first session that I ever did over at Todd's, and perhaps maybe not the first session that he had done over there full band, but you can tell it was testing the limits and the capabilities of the studio.
Right, it's a small studio space. It's the one that he used to share with Craig Alvin.
That's right. Right. So now he inhabits both floors. But I think it was drums. It was sometimes electric, sometimes acoustic bass. Todd also playing an acoustic guitar. Daniel Tashin would either be playing piano or electric guitar. We had a pedal steel on the session, and we had Lola playing her. I think she played a lot of Rubber Bridge on that album as well.
Oh, cool.
And singing at the same time live. So that's a lot of people for the size of that space. It was a lot to go down, but it was great, and it made the vibe of the record, what it is. It was just a great crew.
Did you get a chance to record or mix her vocals on that album?
Yep. Recorded and mixed the whole album.
Okay, great. It sounds great. Her voice sounds so good on that.
Yeah.
And the vocal recording and having done an audiobook together, and then I think we did a teeny tiny bit of some singing on there.
Yeah.
I really appreciated what you guys accomplished with that. So what are some thoughts about that? Like what's part of the process of choosing the right mic or getting that kind of sound you guys wanted on that record, and then even mixing it,
Sure.
to get the vocals just right?
Yeah, I think it was just kind of out of necessity because of the space. She had maybe 3 or 4 players within 4 feet of her while she was playing guitar and singing. So the Rubber Bridge, I think, was all direct, if I remember right. guitar was all direct, and it was just SM7, and it was just kind of out of necessity trying to keep the
really
spill
SM7
down
for the vocal. Yeah, it's got that smooth quality to it. You know.
Yeah, I want to say we doubled every lead vocal on the record,
right?
You know, and it was very you know, it wasn't a super laborious process. She's a great singer and performed it down live with the band, and you know, like maybe we would go back in and punch a couple things, acoustic and voice at the same time, and then she would always, before we moved on, like, let's just get another couple passes of just a dedicated vocal double.
Yeah. And then do you find that tools like Melodyne, for example, are helpful for sort of tightening up the double where it needs it or anything like that? Or do you find that it's usually just a singer who knows how to sing the double? Or
I mean, that will go a long way. Her phrasing, you know, pretty much was the same every time, you know, and she was pretty dialed in. So not a whole lot of manipulation was needed there. But sometimes, you know, in other instances, I'll definitely have to bat them around a little bit, and I'll use Vocaline a lot.
I've been using that more recently too. I'm actually cleaning up vocals on my band's record.
Oh, cool.
And we're all like, none of us claim to be, you know, singers.
Yeah.
So we really need it. But it's pretty amazing what it does, you know, as far as like just taking another vocal and tightening it up as a double.
Totally. You got to be careful with it though. You can't get lazy and highlight the whole song or even the whole chorus and hit go, because sometimes you'll get surprises later down the line. You'll hear
I've noticed. Because it'll take the bleed on a lead vocal mic or the long breath before, and it'll think, oh, that must be the beginning of the word.
That's the note,
and stretch it out to that point or something like that.
You get some interesting sounds that way. But yeah. A Vocaline I'll use a lot. A lot of times I'll just knock stuff around manually. A lot of times in kind of extreme cases, elastic audio and warp, and you can lengthen words and shorten words, and you can really get away with a lot. And
at this point, we're just talking about like general approaches to vocals too. So Lola, we're not talking about your voice. Well, your voice sounded great. I just mean the repair things. So but Vocaline, for example, a way to do it is to take just the first verse and then tighten them up, or even just phrases and then tighten the phrase below it.
Right.
Because that's how it works, right? You load in the reference vocal.
That's right.
And then you load in the second double. Yep. And then tell it to adjust the double to line up with the reference.
Yep. And I've even got a little sound flow macro ready to go for it. So all I got to do is, you know, you've got your two vocal tracks, lead and double, highlight the lead, you know, the area that you want to do. I hit this button, it opens up Audio Suite, it analyzes the lead, and then it shifts down to the track below it. It analyzes that and processes. And
Audio Suite, or do you mean the ARA version on like at the bottom of the screen in Pro Tools?
No,
or does it do it
this will do direct as Audio Suite.
Cool.
I haven't messed with the ARA version of Vocaline yet.
Right.
I do a lot with the Auto Align.
I mean, maybe maybe that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, but well, that's cool. Yeah, in the way you can like do sound flow, to program it stuff that you're going to do anyway that takes a bunch of button clicks and just have one button and it'll kind of go do this, you know, if it's always the same routine every time,
right? Might
as well just have it where you click it once and it just knocks it out for you.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of, you know, RX type stuff where you can get rid of mouth noises or huge breaths or plosive pops and click. If you use Isotope's D-click on an acoustic guitar, I don't know if you've ever done that, but you can get rid of the pick sound, the plectrum sound pretty easily.
I know that you can do that. I don't know if I've done it yet. I don't know if I've been in a place where it was a problem for me. Yes.
Yeah.
But do you find that happens sometimes where it's not really a problem, but once you EQ it, it becomes a problem and then you have to do it?
Yeah, totally. Because, you know, if everything starts to get brighter in your mix, maybe you didn't notice it during tracking because it was, you know, a nice, warm, mellow acoustic guitar sound. But once everything around it gets brightened up, you're kind of forced to brighten the acoustic up, and now you're your plectrums coming out.
I love that you call it a plectrum.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. So, all right, yeah, great tip. So, iZotope, Rockstar's RX D-Click. And I don't remember whether that one is included in the sort of, because there's basic packages of RX and then there's advanced.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember which one has which, but I do know that for those listening, we have a coupon. So if you use Rock 10, that gets you 10% off on iZotope.
Hey, there you go.
On individual plugins or getting a product.
Love it.
So that's great. So go check that out if you're curious about going over there and getting it.
Mm-hmm.
Groovy. Let me jump to another one. So speaking of voices, Deadman, Alicia Cara.
Mm-hmm.
Great sound. Her voice sounds smooth, but also aggressive. What's the secret to that kind of sound?
I mean, Alessia's got such an amazing voice. You know, it was a dream to capture it. You know, nothing. Oh, well, I say nothing fancy. It was a Telefunken 250 Neve 1073 CL1B. So
there you go. That helps a lot, right?
A little bit fancy, but she's just such an amazing singer and knows exactly what she wants and is such a great, you know, she'll self-produce her vocals too. You know, Mike Elizondo produced that project, but she's... Alessia just knows exactly what she wants and exactly how to double it. And, you know, so it's just made it a dream to make stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of, you know, sometimes 15, sometimes 25 stacks on a chorus or something like that.
Are you ready to launch your career in the audio or entertainment business? SAE Institute Nashville, right here in the heart of Music Row, offers hands-on programs to prepare you for the industry. From studio production and live sound to audio for film and a whole lot more. You'll learn by doing, working with professional-grade gear alongside experienced industry pros. If you're more into the business side of entertainment, SAE's Entertainment Business Program teaches essential basics like contracts and promotion to help you navigate the industry. With diploma, associate, or bachelor's degrees, there's a path for everyone. Plus, Career Services supports graduates as they take the next step. Want to see it for yourself? Immerse yourself in Nashville's exciting music scene and book a tour today at nashville.sae.edu or call 615-244-5848. What are some things that you've picked up from her technique or things that she's included you in that process for the stacking and the doubling? Like, does she adjust her own voice tonally? Does she adjust her position on the mic? That kind of stuff. Anything that you've learned about that?
Both. You know, you know, she and I've noticed others, you know, would maybe just shift their body slightly in the room. You know, maybe I would do something like just slightly, just change the EQ, just tiny bit. If you're boosting a little bit at 10K, go to 9K. You know, whatever. Just to kind of shift it a little bit. You know, drift into a little bit different of a, you know, head voice versus chest voice type thing to do doubles. Or just stay exactly the same and just stack in just the natural way that they are different. You know, we'll make the different and we'll make the kind of stereo spread. But yeah, she's a master at stacking her stuff. And Tom Elmhurst, I believe, mixed the record. And
oh, cool!
You know,
right, he knows
amazing.
What he's doing, right? So it does bring to mind another part of that question for you. So when I'm doing a ton more background vocals now in the studio, and I take a laptop out with me so I can just roll it myself. And I've noticed that that kind of setup, even if it's a little bit clunky, you know, I get a lot of like click, click, click punches in and out of everything, and I have to go clean all those up later. But I've noticed that I can move at a very fast pace that way with vocals, and I just hear instantly. It's like performing a thing and then just knowing you want to perform it again. You know, there's like an instinctive understanding of it. There are plenty of times where I wish that I had a producer in the other room who was listening and giving the kind of feedback where I'm like, oh crap, I didn't realize that, you know, voicing of that part was competing with this thing, and somebody else would have heard it hopefully right away.
Sure.
But it just reminds me of all the times I've sat in the engineer chair trying to like quickly run a vocal session for an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tricky to do. I mean, it's doable and I've done it. And there's versions where it's like, no, just roll it a bunch of times and let me just cut it. Don't talk to me. I've had that version.
Mm-hmm.
I've had the versions where people need you to, say all kinds of nice things to them, makes them,
Sure, do a little coaching.
Feel good, or coaching. And I had the versions where I am, where I'm sort of the one making the calls on stuff and the person who's singing
Mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily have a take. A lot of times they might if you let them hear it back again.
Yeah.
But so I know what that's like, but I don't quite know what the version is where I'm running it from the control room, but they also have that sense of immediacy of like,
Mm-hmm.
do it, listen, nope, do it, listen, don't.
Right.
And even to just say, let's listen to that, no, do it again.
Yeah.
Like to me as a singer, that would be too distracting versus just hitting record. So I don't know if that was a long ass question to you, but do you know what I mean? Like, have you figured out ways to let somebody who's super capable on the other end of the mic sort of run the flow of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, this, doesn't necessarily give them the control, but a method that I've found a lot of times particularly kind of in the pop world where they're stacking a ton of vocals is, again, coming back to just being overly prepared. Before I do a vocal session, I'll make, and I know that this person is going to want to expedite and do lots of stacks, and we gotta work quickly. Make 8 vocal tracks, with a tuner on them, in the key of the song. Make 8, that don't have a tuner on them, but they all have effects, delay throws. They're all panned, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
So you got 16 tracks that are just ready to go, and then you always just have a record track, and you're recording everything on that track.
Right. So the headphone mix,
and
their voice in the headphones is always identical.
Correct.
From moment to moment.
So, while you're working, their headphone boxes, track and vocal. Their live vocal is always on this fader. It says vocal.
Right.
And then once you sing verse 1 several times, and once you get thumbs up, that's good, you drag it down to a track.
Right.
Now that track belongs in the mix.
But the thumbs up, that's good. Does that often come from the singer right after they sang it, or it's like right after they sang it and then you played it back for them?
Depends on the singer, Some people want to be really, really involved with that process and like, let me hear it back. No, that's good. No, that's great. Some people want to sing the song down 5 times and not hear it back at all and say, best of luck.
Right,
comp it. And, if it sounds good to them, when you revisit it, then great. If not, they'll fix it up. So it just depends on who the singer is. But yeah, I've found that in order to expedite things rather quickly like that, just having a record track that's solo safed, that they're always an input, they can always hear themselves. That is crucial. And just being able to click and drag it down to one of these pre-made tracks, and now you're just kind of building this track and say like, okay, stack, done, stack.
Yes, you said solo saved and an input, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thinking there is, even if they've recorded something and you've dragged it down on another track and you're momentarily soloing that one vocal and listening back,
yep,
they can still hear themselves to respond to you immediately and tell you like,
correct,
nope, yep. As opposed to like the starting and stopping and then, oops, I got to put you in record.
I lost
to
myself.
Hear what you sell.
I'm on. I'm off. Yeah. They're always on. They always feel like they're being heard.
Right.
Is maybe just as important.
Right. Because you want them to feel like they're right there with you.
Sure.
Running this thing.
Yeah, 100%.
And then what about visual? Do you have studios where you feel like you're really close to the vocalist and you're making eye contact the whole time, so you get that extra level of communication?
Sometimes, like you kind of just you read out the room a little bit. I did a session the other day, singer SM7, behind me. I'm sitting there at the desk, running the machine.
Have you ever wanted to put up a mirror on the console so you can see what's going
like
on?
Like a little like bicycle bumper mirror, where you can see them. You got to be careful. You got to just read the room and know if you get the vibe like they want to be observed or they don't want to be observed. Right? Totally. Whether that fuels them or whether that it detracts from their experience. It's like, sometimes people love it when you're sitting there, in awe, watching them sing, and they kind of get off on that.
And your studio has been a place where if somebody's singing, they might be right next to you in the control room, right?
Sure, yeah. I mean, if anytime anybody's overdubbing, they're behind me. So more often than not, I'm head forward. And
so they're looking at the back of your head.
Yeah.
That's why we get bald spots as engineers. Although you seem to be good for that now.
Well, you just make sure that your body language is conducive to what their what their vibe is. You got to make sure that you show that you're vibing to it, or you're really enjoying a performance, or whatever. You can kind of put out these subtle signals that will communicate with people without actually having to turn around and say that take was great. I love the energy of it. Instead you just.
Have you learned to do like little hand codes to the people who are behind you when you're working on the screen? So for example, you're flipping between takes and they can't see the screen. So you're like 1, 2.
Yep.
Or you're just like, hey, this is A, this is B.
Yep.
Stuff like that.
Totally.
Yep. I dig it. Stagger Poppy Shapes.
Oh,
that song sounds familiar. The title. Great distorted drums, bass, guitars, and vocals. Like everything's got distortion. Yet it fucking rocks, and it sounds great. So like, how can we use distortion everywhere but not have the whole thing feel like it's overly distorted somehow? It's almost like they were all distorted, but they had maybe unique distortions or something.
Sure, yeah. They're all kind of, just their own unique chain or types of distortion.
And you can always answer these questions in like a general context. You don't have to be.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Like if you asked me, what'd you do on that? I'd be like, I don't know what I did on that session.
No, I'm typically pretty bad about that.
This morning, Lidge? Yeah. I don't know who I had in the podcast this morning.
I know drum wise, we had. I think I was using some contact mics that were pretty heavily saturated, and so in that instance, I would tape a contact mic. In that genre, I would have put the contact mic on the beater head of the kick drum, so a couple inches from the beater. Man. And so,
glad I asked this question.
Yeah, it was pretty intense sound. So you've got the contact mic right next to the beater on the head, so it's just getting pummeled anytime.
Does it actually pick up some of the other drums too?
A tiny bit, but it's mostly pretty confined to that kick drum. And so you're going in. I like to go into a preamp with both an input and output control. Just dime the input. Tailor the output down.
And that preamp might be a 1073, for example, right?
Possibly.
What other ones give you distortions that are interesting?
In this instance, I think it was the Chandler, whatever the tube channel. Yeah. I
know the TG1, but that's the limiter, I think.
The LTD.
Yeah, it's like the
maybe the 2-channel guy that both has an input and output. So that's my kick and snare. So you get a little bit of extra crunch there, tailor the output down to where you need it to be. Then I like to go, in that instance, we went back to an SSL and you hard gate it. So now you're just getting.
Right. So, but Book, you're doing kick and snare there, right?
That's right.
So you would do the same thing on a snare?
Same thing on a snare. Normally, I'll try to put it on the top, the head that you're striking on a snare drum.
Right.
And again, it's just getting pummeled, and on their own they're pretty nasty sounds, but when you pull them up underneath maybe a clean set of drum mics, they really do a lot and add a lot of excitement. So that was one element of distortion on the drum sounds for that.
And reminder, rock stars, this is in the show notes, so if you're like curious how this stuff sounds, you just go find slow motion. Oh, no, sorry. That's the next one. Stagger Poppy Shapes.
Yeah.
Is in there.
Also, another layer of distortion there was on the drums was I always like to bring a pedal board and have like kind of a chain going there.
Yeah, that's my next question is like, are guitar pedals used for this kind of stuff too?
100%.
Hey, rock stars, imagine sitting down at your DAW with 165 instruments and over 150,000 sounds to choose from. That's what Complete 15 from Native Instruments delivers, the most powerful creative tool in your studio. Inside, you'll find Contact 8, Massive X, battery, and Guitar Rig 7 Pro, giving you everything you need to create in any genre. Plus, you'll get inspiring sampled instruments like upright bass and electric keys, along with endless expansions to keep your sound fresh. Whether you're producing hip-hop, scoring films, or creating EDM bangers, Complete 15 has you covered. Pair that with Native Instruments control keyboard and machine hardware, and you get next-level integration that makes music creation fast, fun, and seamless. Go to nativeinstruments.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off.
I've got a system that I've kind of fallen into is a 57 or a pair of 57s on the ground underneath the snare drum, kind of pointed at the kick drum. So now you're just kind of getting all that under snare action and the beater side.
And why a pair?
Well, just the pedal board that I have is stereo in and out.
Okay.
So I found rather than it's just a better stereo image if you have two mics, even if they're super close to one another. Just that slight difference of a different mic in a slightly different position, hand hard left and right is going to be more.
Here's
stereo.
part of that question, man. How'd you get so weird?
Yeah, you gotta.
Does it come from the band background? You think for you?
No, I mean, I always just try to come to every record with something that will keep me excited, learn something new, get the band excited, get the producer excited.
Yeah.
Get everybody's, excitement level up about like, man, that's an insane sound.
Right.
Let's dig into that, or let's, just get people feeling like they're making something unique and something that, is unique to their record.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
Make people feel like that. You'll get hired all the time. In theory.
So I didn't mean to cut you off before you completed the pedal board description. So pair of 58s goes into stereo input on.
Yep, just something. Into I've got a pedal board that's XLR in and out, so it's just you would use it just like a piece of outboard gear.
Fascinating. How'd you have something like that? Did you have to put it together?
Yeah, I forget the company, XLN or something, but there's a custom pedal board manufacturer where you can kind of customize the ins and outs, and you put an IEC power cable or MIDI or 1/4 inch balanced or XLR or whatever on both
ends. And would
ends.
you use the same pedal board on a stage show, or is it really designed more for this unique studio environment?
It's a little bit more studio, and particularly the pedals that I have on there are not traditionally used as guitar pedals. They're not really like stomp boxes.
Right, okay.
They're a little bit more in the like EDM
Which
world.
Ones?
I'm blanking on the company now.
What do they look like?
Auto Machines, OTO.
Okay.
UAD has a plugin called the Biscuit. It's a bit crusher by OTO, and it's modeled after this piece of hardware. It's a French company, but it's to spill all the tea here. It's there are 3 pedals from Auto Machines. There's a reverb, there's a distortion with a gate on it, and there's a delay. And I like to run them in that order.
Super cool.
So now, in that scenario, I've got a drum sound that's going through these pedals. Maybe I'm giving it a little bit of room reverb that's going into my distortion pedal with a gate. So now you've got a gated verb thing happening.
Yeah.
And then you've got a delay after that you're able to tap a tempo to. So now that's a very interesting
Here, let's
sound.
back up a little bit and make sure we get this. So these are pedals that are, they're not typically guitar pedals. So then one question is like, well, why'd they make a pedal? Why did they make an outboard rack? But to your point, the EDM world is probably a lot of 1/4 inch in and out kind of
Mm-hmm.
equipment.
Well, yeah,
this would be more useful for?
And the pedals are 1/4 inch in and out.
Right.
But the pedal board itself is what has, XLR.
the adaption to allow XLR in and out in a studio environment.
Right.
And then when you say the gated verb, is this one where you have to feed a side chain of the gate from a clean sound
Nope.
to open and close it just right?
Nope.
Or?
I'll just set the dials for the gate on the distortion pedal itself. And yeah, just I guess another way that they differentiate from guitar pedals is they work best. They operate at line level or close to line level as opposed to instrument level. So it's a little bit more. I like my lo-fi to sound hi-fi, man.
Right, totally, man, totally. And have you found that guitar pedals, when you try and interact with them in the same way with a pedal board kind of setup, that it leans too lo-fi?
It's tougher, yeah. It's tough for me. You're kind of
you get too mid-rangey or something.
Well,
like that?
you're just always put into this super lo-fi box. No matter what the stomp box is, it always sounds a lot smaller. You always lose some resolution. You always lose frequency response. So that's why I fell into these types of pedals that are a little bit more. They operate at line level, and they can take all of that line level. So maybe you can use a preamp before it where it this sounds like a big old hefty drum sound, but now you're just putting these analog effects, attaching it to it instead of downgrading the signal, and it always has to be lo-fi feeling.
Yeah, no, I can dig that. Okay, cool. Well, that's awesome. And it was OTO was the pedal that you're thinking of. What was the? Do you remember what the
Auto Machines?
Auto Machines.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
There's I think it's all the pedals that they have. Maybe. Yeah.
Okay, dig it. That's great. I was thinking of another pedal that's been on the guitar scene a lot lately, the hologram pedal.
Oh yeah.
You get that one showing up too?
Yeah, I've seen that one. I haven't dug in myself, but I've definitely had guitar players and keyboard players in particular bring them to sessions and
keyboards.
You can get a myriad of
because
cool,
they're more pad-like, right?
Mm-hmm. You get a lot of cool sounds out of that. Yeah, I'd love to sink my teeth into, but haven't had the chance.
Yeah. What about things like the Eventide H9000 or any of those kind of boxes?
Yeah.
Are those ones that you play around with at all?
I haven't personally. I know a lot of guitar players. And
the H9 pedal,
right? That use those with great results. I haven't had one in my studio to mess around with yet. I've been pretty set with my pedal board lineup.
And that's fine. We don't have to
thus far
go very long on something that you don't know. That's fine. But I always like to ask it. Another record, Slow Motion. Again, did you say it's Alessia?
Yeah.
Cara, my comment is, damn, dude, that sounds so awesome.
Nice.
Punchy drums and killer pop vocals.
Mm.
So maybe talk a little bit about that and getting that sound.
Yeah.
What goes into a sound like that?
I mean, that was my recollection, like pretty live band. I mean, it would have been, I think, a 3-piece, the trio. Again, Mike Elizondo produced that. So it would have been Alessia singing. Probably a lot of it was her keeper lead vocal. Trevor Lawrence Jr. was playing a drum set. Mike Elizondo was playing electric bass, and a guy named Max Townsley was playing electric guitar.
Nice.
So that would have been the foundation of it. It's a live band, and then adding maybe some keyboard stuff, some kind of cherry on top type things as overdub, and lots of vocal stack type things.
Because if I recall, if that's the one I'm thinking of, it's got a quality that feels like a program track too. But I guess that's what you get when you've got really tight players too.
Yeah, 100%. And Trevor Lawrence works a lot in that world, in the pop and hip hop world, as a programmer and real drummer. So he knows how to make those two worlds talk, and even tune your drums like that. He was the inventor of the clap stack. You familiar with the clap stack?
No. Tell us about it.
So the stack cymbal from Istanbul, where layer 3 cymbals hit it, and it sounds like an 808 clap.
No, wow, I didn't know about that.
It's a really cool,
super
really
cool.
cool concept. And so yeah, just that way of merging, program drums and hip hop elements to a real acoustic drum set type feel. I think is what makes him a special player in that.
What's some
record.
stuff that you've picked up as far as tips of that? I mean, like, it's wonderful to hear the reminder that, when we work with a particular musician, they bring a sound,
Mm-hmm.
but, we don't all get to work with all the musicians that are the greatest out there.
Sure.
So then, what are some fun things that we could try as far as combining that kind of hip hop stuff, the programmed with the real drums? I mean, is it just, for example, is it reminding ourselves to really pay attention and, like, if we dig a sound,
Mm-hmm.
like really look closely at it and then figure out like what, and then take the time to experiment where it's like, how can we recreate a sound like that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you're a drummer or if you're just an engineer, with access to a drum set, I'm doing that all the time in my studio on days where I'm not working or days where I'm needing to take a quote unquote break from work. I will let's try something else on this drum set. Let's see what this weird clip-on mic does. If I put this right on the batter side of the kick drum pointing this way, how does that work? Does it work if I blow it up? Does it work a little bit more on the cleaner side? Does it work, better? What does an Omni mic do here? What is this? I'm just
and that's
constantly,
with you playing the drums.
That's me with a pair of headphones and sitting here with maybe a rack of a chain that I've got it going through, and like, let's see where this one mic can go through this chain in a different variety of positions. And
now, how do you set up your little world there? Because it's a tight space,
Mm-hmm.
but how do you set up your world where you can do that? You can be at the drums, but you can also dial the stuff in.
Yeah, I mean,
you try and actually position everything in a way that allows you to do all that at once.
Yeah, nothing's really set drum set wise. Nothing's really set in place. They come in and out of there as needed.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times I'll just set them right in the middle of the control room where I'm within arm's reach of my outboard rack.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can, have this mic or whatever couple mics, and I can be kind of gain staging stuff and testing out different things, but I can still be moving the mic and. Even to the point where I'm holding a particular mic and just moving it around and hitting it and just seeing what on this
like
drum, how far, what the proximity effect's like, Do you
have a way to note take to yourself too, so you remember when you find something cool, so you remember what it was to come back later?
Unfortunately, it's just all
in the
subject to the Rolodex, the mental Rolodex.
That's cool. Because I mean, I think when we do remember something, oh, that was cool, then we just remember to like try that again on the session.
Sure, if it's special enough, maybe you'll remember it.
Right.
Right. It'll find its way into a session.
And then of course you're in headphones because when you're in the control room, you don't want to be blowing up your speakers.
Sure.
Especially when you get into distorted sounds.
Oh yeah, mics. Yeah, it can get dangerous. In there real quick,
real fast. Although ironically, it's funny, like a runaway feedback in a mic into distortion is almost like a limiter in some ways. So in some ways it protects it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a runaway mic with like I have in my place, I've got, these double subs that are part of the Phantom Focus system. Mm. And if I have very hot condenser mics for an acoustic sound, quiet acoustic, mm-hmm. and they're too close to the doors and even just the glass door opens up for a moment. Mm. And it sucks because I hear it and I'm out there and I'm like, oh my God, I can't even like run in to get to the volume knob that fast.
Yeah, right.
So it's really scary.
Yeah. Yep.
But so far I haven't messed it up.
Yeah.
Are you recording your own music or other people's music in your studio, but you're having trouble figuring out how to get your mixes to sound great? Do they sound weak and distant or lack punch and clarity? Well, I've got a gift for you to help you take your mixes from sounding like basement demos to sounding a lot more like professional mixes. And it's my free course called Mix Master Bundle. This course will show you how to get pro-sounding mixes from your home studio with free and stock plugins in Pro Tools. And the best part part is, these mixing techniques will work for you in any DAW, whether you're in Logic, Cubase, PreSonus Studio One, Reaper, or anything you can think of. Are you ready to make your best record ever? Then go to mixmasterbundle.com to get started for free now, and you can find the clickable link in the show notes of this episode. To that point, keeping the light on, Jay Oladokin.
Joy Alatican.
Oh, Joy Alatican.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't have my reading glasses on. But I noticed it's got, like, I described it as big kick knocks.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminded me of hip hop, like that big kind of knocking kick sound.
Sure.
And so part of my question was, how do you check for that kind of action or low end on your monitors to decide, I've got it where I want it?
Mm-hmm. I guess it's just knowing what you're listening to, knowing your speaker set, knowing being comfortable with the tracking environment that you're at, and knowing, how far is too far and how far is not far enough, and kind of trying to get it right on the way in. That one probably was an instance of that DBX 120X subharmonic synth. It's just cool that it blends kind of a natural, nice, puffy sounding kick drum, but you blend in this synthetic element to it, and it gives it a bit of that programmed feel.
Yeah.
But with the playing being natural and musical and non.
How often do you have a drummer and the kick drum that you guys want to use has got a full front head on it?
Sometimes, yeah.
And what do you do when you're trying to record that version of a kick drum as opposed to one where you can put a mic inside the kick?
Yeah, normally if that's the kick drum that if that's the setup that they've come in with, that's intentional, so it's like more often than not, if you've got a front head on it, no port, no access to a tighter beater sound, then that's probably a good indicator that maybe that's not the right direction for for that kick drum or for that project, or that's not the preference of that drummer, So like just picking up on those kind of cues, I always, go with the flow. Well,
that's fair, but let's nerd out on it a little bit more.
Yeah,
because
if you wanted to,
like, somebody listening might be like, yeah, but what mic am I supposed to choose from the locker to go even begin to mic this kick drum?
Sure, yeah. Well, you take the head off if that's what you're looking for.
Let's assume we're going with the flow.
Okay.
But like what? So let's say I'm on a kick drum that's got a hole in it, and you're putting a mic inside it. I don't know what you choose. Maybe it's a RA20. Maybe it's a 57 sometimes.
Sure, yeah.
I think I use the Beta 52 a lot lately. But then you might want a mic out in front of it on the head side too, for a little more pillow and air.
Yep.
Although a lot of times I just ditch that mic.
Yeah.
I find.
Sure. Yeah. There's I like the like the in and out approach because of the time delay, the time difference between the inside mic and the outside. You can kind of lengthen the sound of the kick drum.
Yeah.
Because of the time delay between the close and the far. And if you get those lined up correctly, or halfway in phase, it works out to your favor.
And how do you get those halfway in phase?
What
do you think of?
You're just checking. Like first, you're just going to eyeball it and say, like, generally this is about the distance that works. The 3-to-1 rule is typically applied. And then you get back into the control room and you listen to it, and you invert the polarity of one of them, and it should, be a pretty big difference when you invert the polarity. If it's not a big difference, then you know that you're kind of somewhere in between.
Which is maybe not where you want to be.
Right. You want it to be pretty dramatic when you invert the polarity.
See, that's great. That was a great answer. I would not have guessed that answer, so that's a good one.
Yeah. So,
and then the other part about that outer mic is there's, only so many zones it can go in, right, too? Because as soon as you start moving it, if you try and move it far back from the kick, it's no longer a kick mic. It's picking up the whole kit, right?
Yeah, but sometimes that's cool too. Like sometimes I'll do 3 foot out, but at the height of the center of the kick drum. So the fundamental source of that mic is going to be the kick drum, but you are getting a little bit of spill from the it's just a very subby kick drum centric version of that drum
Right.
set,
Right.
and that can be a super useful sound.
You ever
But
use the kick drum tunnel technique?
yeah, sometimes if you want it longer, or I've got a big old resonant kick drum, 26 or 28 inch kick drum with nothing in it that will sustain for days.
Oh, so you're thinking about the kick drum double as like, and I've done this too, where you have a kick drum and then you put a second kick drum in front of it.
Right.
So it's like a long shot.
It throws it into this resonant drum that really adds a lot of length.
Right.
And you can time that to, the quarter note of the tempo of the song that you're in.
Right.
Exactly, so instead of, maybe if you have just your tight mic and your one kick, you just get do.
Right.
But if you got this resonant drum and you can dampen the head, now you can work with doom.
There you go. I like it, man. And it's a good reminder to us too that all these things we're talking about, it's very song specific. If you have that ability to adjust for the song in the same way that you would as a player, then that can be great. Sometimes you don't have tons of room to do that on very fast tracking sessions, and you just hope the players sort of automatically do that on the instrument, I guess.
Yeah, or you got to figure it out after the fact.
Right.
You got to tweak it and make it that. Sometimes it's, you're doing sessions where it's spray and pray, where they're just throwing it out to you and you're just gathering, and you got to sort it out later. So you do the best that you can to get a bunch of clean sources and capture that, and then you try to recreate something after the fact.
Was Spray and Pray a shout out to our band's mascot, the skunk, right here?
Oh, nice. What is the band's name?
Well, we had a college band name back in the day. It was Enormous Richard.
Yeah.
It's like naming your band Free Beer, And then we sort of decided, I think originally the joke was that we had a song that was a little bit ska and another one that was twangy country. So then it was skuntry, but then it became sort of skunky country because we didn't really do anything else that sounded like reggae,
Yeah. Love it.
Then it just stuck, skuntry. So, all right, cool, man. Well, let me see. Let me jump forward here and I will ask the question that I've asked you before, but we'll ask it again. So this one is hypothetical. This is, we get to take the Wayback Studio machine and you go back in time and you find young Justin and you say, listen, dude, I know I've come back from the future a couple of times already, but here's my third time coming back from the future to tell you this bit of advice. Here's the single most important thing you need to know to be a rock star of the studio yourself one day. What advice do you feel like you'd like to go back and give yourself if you could?
Just remember to be there, be present, make yourself available to people. If your goal is to advance as an engineer and work with more and more producers and more bands and stuff, make the people that hire you look good.
Yeah.
They'll hire you every single time that it's an option for them. If you make them look good in front of their client,
Yeah.
they'll come back every time. So just,
what are the ways that you think of that, maybe you didn't, or that we might not do that and should be doing that?
I think maybe, a lot of times when you're just starting out, it's perhaps it feels like it's a little bit more about you at that time. What can I do? Because you're just trying so hard to make a name for yourself and to try to be remembered but if you shift a little bit of that energy to making everybody else excited about it, everybody else feeling good about it, trying to decipher what people want out of this recording, and they're happy with it, and you've made somebody feel good about their work, then that's the best job that you can do.
And I feel like part of that is the about me thing is also a little bit like we have this, like we come into this really passionate about music in the first place. Otherwise we'd go get a job that pays really well, or something. But so we come into it with that. So of course we're in pursuit of something great. And so I think there's an urge to, express that somehow.
Right.
And I think, and so that like, I think initially, don't we we look to ourselves to make it happen.
Yeah.
And to your point, learning to look to the people we're working with, and also learning to just trust that, like, if they like something or they want to do something, there's a reason for it,
Yeah.
And so if we can find ways to accommodate and make them happy, I've found, like to your point, that there are a lot of times where I look back, I'm like, I had no idea this could be that cool.
Right.
I'm so glad that they suggested it, and that I was able to help, pursue that and help figure it out.
Sure. Yeah, totally. Because I mean, they're in that chair for a reason. It's their record, and they've got visions of their own, and it's your job to translate those things, and translate them into, to transform them into emotion, and share that with other people. It's like you're the conduit through this artist to the masses. So just keeping that in mind, instead of serving yourself, try to serve others and serve.
And it could be like the undiscovered lyric. You might not even know what a good thing you just made in this moment until later, when you listen back and you realize, wow, we really nailed it.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
And that, keeping yourself open like that will make you learn something. You learn something new every session, instead of kind of having it set in your mind of, this is how a kick drum is supposed to be recorded, or this is how, you're always supposed to have, tea towels on your drums. You're always supposed to have, whatever, this type of cymbal, or you're always supposed to have this or that. It's like keeping yourself open to that and seeing things through, and just, you're building that Rolodex of information in your mind to pull from and reach from for the next session.
It's twice now you mentioned a Rolodex, man. Nobody has a Rolodex anymore, But we had one in the first studio I was at.
Really?
We literally had one. You had to go write the name down on a piece of paper, a little white card, and then pop it right in.
I remember using a Rolodex in my first internship too. Just flipping through the thing, find the coffee machine. The coffee machine was a company that had the coffee machine there at the studio, and if it malfunctioned, you had to call the coffee.
We need more coffee.
Yeah, you had to call the coffee machine company.
Right on. Mm-hmm. Let the rock stars know, how can they find you? What if they want to learn more about you? And what if they want to just come make a amazing sounding record?
Yeah, I'm around. I've got a website. It's jryanfrancis.com. Justin Ryan Francis is my full name. So jryanfrancis.com. Socials, same thing, at jryanfrancis. Come talk to me. I'm around.
Right on. Well, thanks for doing this. Rock stars, thank you so much for watching and joining us for the podcast today. If you enjoyed this episode and really liked hearing Justin tell us all this cool stuff, what do you think they should do, Justin?
Wait, I'm sorry, I checked out.
That was a trick question. Make sure to like the video, please, and subscribe.
Oh, yeah.
And, drop a comment in too, because all that stuff really helps us on the old YouTube.
Love it.
And that'll make sure that the channel gets shared with more folks so that more people can enjoy it.
100%.
Yeah. Dude, thanks for hanging with us on the show, man.
Thanks so much.
I look
Appreciate it.
forward to seeing you again soon. Cheers. Thanks so much for listening to Recording Studio Rockstars. If you enjoyed the show and want to help make it better, then please share this episode with your friends on social media and leave a rating and review on iTunes to help the podcast reach more rock stars like yourself. You can click directly over to iTunes or go to rsrockstars.com/review for an easy explanation. And remember to hit the subscribe button to keep up with weekly episodes. And if you're ready to make your best record ever now, then head over to Recording Studio Rockstars Academy, where you can start with my free course at mixmasterbundle.com. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks for being a rock star. I'm Lid Shaw, and this is Recording Studio Rockstars. Now, go make great music. Recording Studio Rockstars would like to give a big thank you to our fantastic sponsors who help make this episode possible. Isotope, Native Instruments, Atom Audio, SAE Institute, Spectra 1964, and Picker. And remember to take advantage of our special coupon code ROCK10 for 10% off at isotope.com and nativeinstruments.com for any plugin purchase. Don't forget, you can start mixing right now with my free course Mixmaster Bundle. You'll find the link in the show notes below. And if you enjoyed Recording Studio Rockstars, please check out our sponsors also in those links in the show notes. These are all things I highly recommend for your studio. They are going to help you make your best record ever. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this, it's a great way to help support the show, and I really appreciate it, and I thank you as well. I'd also like to thank our fantastic team here at Recording Studio Rockstars: Vlad Weselchenko, Jeffrey Simmons, and Max Young. Thank you so much for watching and listening, Rockstars, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.